Get ready. Helena Hustle is now live. Here, we will showcase successful leaders in business, athletics, healthcare, and all things that make Helena a great place to live. Join Dr. Daniel Bridge, owner of Endurance Chiropractic, as he searches out amazing individuals who are making a tremendous difference in this place we call home. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired with the Helena Hustle podcast.
So I'm here with Jamie Bright. What is the name of your business?
So my current business is Be Right Testing, and since I'm a huge dork, Be Right, my last name is Bright.
Nice.
So I kind of tied those together.
Cool, I like that.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that soon. But before we do, what are your 2 truths and a lie, Jamie?
Okay, so I'm going to have to cheat and look
Okay.
at my phone here. I want to make sure I get these right. I gave considerable time to these. Okay, so my first of the 2 truths and a lie is I have a Class A CDL with a tanker endorsement, and I can drive a semi-truck. So that's number 1. Number 2 is I make my bed every morning and I wash a load of laundry every day. So that's number 2. And then number 3, aside from being a business owner, I have 2 other part-time jobs. One of those is as a bartender, and the other is as an outreach and safety instructor for Great Divide Ski Area. Have fun with those.
Oh. I feel like my stats are pretty good on guessing these. I guess I bet I'm 75%, but I think I'm going to lose today. I'm going to say you do not have your CDL.
That's false. I do.
Oh, you do have
Yep,
it.
I
What's
can
the
drive a
lie?
semi with no restrictions. The lie is I don't make my bed every day.
Really? Okay.
I do actually do a load of laundry every single day, but I don't make my bed at all.
Okay.
It's just, I'm one of those people that's very functional and very task driven, and making my bed just seems to be a waste of my time when I have so much else to do.
It's funny because, you got these gurus who are out there and they're saying, if you don't make your bed, then you're going to fail at life. And making your bed works for some people, and for some people it doesn't. So
Think about how much more successful I could be in life if I just made my bed every day.
Right. Okay. So when did you get your CDL?
Okay, so when I was working at the City of Helena years ago, gosh, maybe 12 years ago, I worked for the City of Helena at the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
Actually, I was a wastewater operator. One of my degrees is in biology, so it was in my wheelhouse, and I loved working with the biologics of it all and working in their lab. And they had opportunities for employees to become CDL drivers, and
Wow.
I said, why not?
Yeah.
I can't see why it would hurt me to learn this. So I learned on a 45-foot tanker, and I had to do the CDL test on the 45-foot tanker we had.
Okay.
And the tester was surprised that I was able to alley dock it, but I said, we can get it done as long as you just give me a few minutes. I'll get it done, and it worked out.
Was that a challenging process, getting your license?
Absolutely. Probably more challenging for the guys at the wastewater treatment plant that instructed me than it was for myself, because they were super patient and
Okay.
learning how to drive on a double clutch. I mean, I grew up driving clutch vehicles, but the double clutch is a whole different beast. And those guys were so gentle and kind to me, and they were just excited that I wanted to learn that and get that skill. So
Did you grow up on a farm or a ranch or anything?
no, just west of Helena at the top of Colorado Gulch, and
Had a stick shift.
we did raise animals for 4-H, but I would say a hobby farm. But my parents thought it was important we learned how to drive clutch cars, and my first car that I could afford on my own was a clutch car, and so
Okay.
manual transmission, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And where do you tend bar at?
At the Legion, the American Legion, down there by Murdoch's, actually.
Okay.
It's so much fun. I work 2 nights a week, and I sub when needed. I just have so much energy, and so I find myself getting not much socialization at my day job and ending up needing to do more in the evenings. And so the bartending has been a really great fit, and we serve a really unique group there at the Legion with the veterans. We offer
Okay.
a lot of outreach and networking for the veterans, and then we are open. We're not a membership bar, so anybody can come in. And so on my nights that I bartend, I have a bunch of friends come down and see me, and it's really
Okay.
it's social and it's
Yeah.
fun. And then just having that tip cash when you have teenagers, that's fun
Oh, yeah.
to have that tip cash. And then I save half of it always. I just put half away and spend the other half. And so anytime I want to take a trip, we're not restricted in the fun things we want to do because I have that tip money.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we close at 11 p.m. So I say it's the old lady bar. I can go home
You
and
don't have to work
and
till-
be to
yeah.
work the next day by 7 a.m. and
Yeah.
I'm fine. It's fine. Yeah.
And then at Great Divide, you said?
Yep,
Did you say
I
safety
do.
instructor?
Yeah. When I first moved back to Helena, I'm originally from Helena, and I was away for a bit for college and then a job. And when I first moved back to Helena, I was a single mom with very, very little children. and I wanted them to have the opportunity to ski. I knew I couldn't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked with the owner of the Great Divide at the time, and I started doing some work for him. I do the ski safety talks in the schools in Helena. So I go talk to all the 5th graders and all the high schoolers, and even Montana City and Clancy and some of the surrounding areas. I go talk to them before their ski day. It's part of their PE curriculum. And so I give them their ski safety talk. And in exchange, I am able to comp out or work trade for our season passes each year.
Okay, heck yeah.
And it's, now we're in the position where we can afford it, but I've really enjoyed the program, and they love having me do it for them. So I continue with it. It's a work trade.
You've been doing this for quite a while.
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. Yep. I would say, let's see, this is going to be my 16th year. Well, no, 15th year.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice. I'd love to get I'd love to have a conversation with the people at Great Divide too. So we'll have to talk afterwards.
I know them well.
Yeah, good.
We can hook you up.
Yeah, sweet. So where do you get all this energy?
I don't know. My
I'm just getting
friends joke
tired
with me
listening to
when
you.
we go camping. They're always like, "How many B12s did you take
Yeah.
today?" I just grew up. We grew up in a really resourceful home. Our parents didn't have a lot of money, but we had a lot of great experiences. And our parents they never tired. My parents are just the type that continued no matter the situation. And I don't know. We just don't. Life is too short. You don't want to miss out on experiences.
Sure.
I know too many people very close to me who, if they don't feel good that day, they miss out on a whole day of life. Or if they're tired that day, they're missing out on a whole day of life. And I tell my own children, you can be tired for one day. It's okay. You'll just sleep well that night. And, I don't know where I really get my energy. Maybe the B12, maybe my parents.
I like what you're saying. The idea that every Monday is going to suck. That's 1/7 of your life that you're just pre-planning to not enjoy. So.
Right.
Yeah.
But every Monday may on the other side just be such a blessing and be a wonderful
day. Might be awesome, yeah. You don't know. You got to wait. You got to find out.
Right.
So the way your parents raised you, does that have much to do with your ability or desire to start businesses? To be
I would think that it
entrepreneurial?
gives me the ability to not quit. It gives me the ability to take a little bit of a risk. As I said, our parents did teach us to be resourceful. We didn't have all the expensive toys. We had to go outside and make our fun. And we lived at the top of Colorado Gulch, west of Helena. And so really, my parents' land borders still BLM and Forest Service for thousands and thousands of acres. So my backyard is the mountains. And so just that sense of adventure, that sense to always see what's around the next corner, behind the next tree, on top of that next rock. I think that's gotten into me, that I'm not afraid to take a little bit of a risk. And I know if it doesn't work out in the sense that I view it, it could work out in a different way. And you might just have to go around another turn and go about it at a different angle. And so large in part, just the confidence they gave us to be who we wanted to be and to make the mistakes we needed to be, and that they were always going to be there for us. I think that helped. I don't have business in my background or in my family. I always joke with people, I'm stupid enough to say yes to something, but smart enough to know I can get out of a pickle if we need to get out of a pickle.
Wow. How many businesses have you started or ran?
So I've started one, which is the current business I own. And then I did buy an existing business.
Bought it. Okay.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, I was working for the city of Helena, as we discussed, at the wastewater treatment plant. And a woman that I've known for years and years kept coming in every year to service our fire extinguishers. And she's getting to about retirement age. And so one day I just said, Bonnie, are you going to retire from this business? And she said, yeah, I would love to sell it, the fire extinguisher business. So that got the wheels in my head turning. So her business was a need. It's not a want. Businesses must have their extinguisher service. So it wasn't nights or weekends. She was ready to sell. I knew I could grow it. So I was like, well, let's just give it a whirl. And the bank said, yeah, you can have money. And wow, okay. So I went with it. I bought the fire extinguisher business. Within 6 years, I had tripled the gross.
Fantastic.
Bought a brand new servicing truck, really grew it. And then I just kept a running list of people who would come to me and say, are you ready to sell your business? If you ever want to sell, let me know. And when I was ready, I saw another opportunity. I went to my list and I called the very first person on the list and I said, hey, Brent, are you ready? Action Fire Extinguisher Services for sale. And you're the first guy. And he's like, oh, yeah, yep, I'm going.
Oh, wow. So he was serious.
Right. And I firmly believe God opens and closes doors. So if we're going to try to make something happen, and it seems difficult and I'm hitting a roadblock every step, we need to go a different direction. Yeah.
And so how long did you run Action Fire Extinguishers?
Just about 6 years.
6 years.
Right at 6 years, yeah.
And then can you talk about your transition from there till where you're at now?
Yeah, and that's where I was just dumb enough to say yes. So every time I was doing fire extinguishers at utility companies in town, I would be there for a day or 2 days at a time, and I would watch their safety coordinators pack up rubber goods into boxes. Like, what are these rubber goods? Tell me. I'm nosy. Tell me what's going on. Well, these are rubber goods that keep the linemen safe if there's an accidental contact while they're working on the line, and they must be tested at intervals. So why are you packing them into totes? Why are they going out of state? Well, because nobody in Montana will test them for us. There's one testing lab, and it's Northwestern Energy, and they will only test for their own. So we, as private companies, have to ship our goods out. I'm like, okay. Well, so I started looking into that, and some of the safety coordinators at the utility companies became personal friends, and long story short, I was servicing fire extinguishers in Lincoln one day, and I stopped by one of the safety coordinators' houses, and I said, Jim, I'm thinking about selling my fire extinguisher business and getting going in this the high voltage testing lab. And he said, you'd be stupid not to, Jamie. So I needed that vote of confidence, and then the fact that my business was able to sell so easily. And I contacted a high voltage testing machine company and asked them to start building a testing machine for me based on my specs. That one wasn't cheap. It was $140,000, and I had to wait 8 months for it to be built. But I gave them a down payment, and they started building it. And so from that day forward, it was go time. I just knew I was committed. We're going to make it happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're a curious person.
Right.
You're seeing opportunity. You're like, people are shipping this. That can't be cheap. You got to pay for the testing, plus the packaging, plus shipping. All of that's
Correct.
got to be a fortune.
Yeah. And it's required. I mean, what's the price of safety on a person's life?
Yeah. So once again, they have to do it.
Yeah. Yep. And there should be no price for safety. And so just knowing that the equipment they're getting back from me is safe for their linemen. I mean, of course, there is a chain of command, or a chain of custody rather. And so as soon as it's in their hands, it's on them to keep that equipment safe. But, they need to have it done, and it's right.
And so you educated yourself on this. This was something you had no experience
Correct.
or education in. How did you even find this company that made the equipment?
Oh, internet's a great thing.
Just
I'm resourceful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find out anything nowadays.
That's true.
We've all become little FBI investigators just by the power of the
Sure.
internet. But I did have to go to training in Ohio. I knew nothing of the industry except for what I had just gleaned off of those that were already in it. And so I went to training, and then, of course, buying and securing equipment from different companies all over the state or all over the country. It just was a process.
You certify people from...
No, I got certified in Ohio, but
okay.
then I had to buy equipment for my testing lab. So, I have a walk-in dryer that came from Ohio. I've got a testing machine that came from Alabama. I've got an industrial size washing machine that came from another state. So,
How do you use the walk-in dryer and the industrial washer?
So the rubber goods, before I touch them or even run them through my expensive equipment, they all get washed.
Okay.
And so I use the industrial washer to wash all the rubber gloves, sleeves, blankets, line hose, everything goes in.
Do they send them to you dirty? Okay.
Yeah, so that's part of my function is I send them back clean, tested, inspected,
Okay.
ready to go.
Is that a value add, or is that part of the process?
It's part of the process.
Okay.
There are some mobile companies that will drive to a electric co-op, for example, out in North Dakota. They'll drive there and they'll test the rubber goods for the linemen, but they don't have the ability to clean them. And so those linemen are getting rubber gloves back that may have body fluids in, like blood, sweat. And really, that's not great for the integrity of the rubber that's, supposed to be protecting you against 20,000 volts of electricity. And so really, it's an added value. It's expected. It's just part of the process. Yeah.
So can you tell us, what is the process? Somebody gets you their goods.
Yeah, so rubber goods come in the door. They come in via UPS. They come in via the safety coordinator for each company. They just drop them off at my shop. Some of my contractors, I actually give a door code to my shop so I don't have to be there. I mean, contraindicated or I don't know.
Contrary to popular belief?
Contrary to what I told you earlier, I really don't love working nights and weekends, even though I do bartend one night a weekend. But So with the high voltage testing, they'll come in at midnight and drop off rubber goods, and I don't want to be there. Just drop them and go. They got to go to their next city,
Sure.
drop them. So I give them the code. So anyways, back to where we were at. They drop them off, or UPS ships them in, and then the first thing I do is take a quick inventory. Okay, we've got 20 gloves. This is the serial number for each glove. Write it down. I try to touch it very, very little while it's dirty for my own safety. Goes right to the wash machine. We wash the rubber goods with a gentle detergent. You know, my function is not to harm their safety gear; it's to make it better. Low temp water, low G's on the spins. Just really take really good care of it. Pop it in the dryer, the walk-in dryer. Once it's dry, about 10 minutes later, then I run it through my high voltage testing lab.
Real quick, the walk-in dryer, I've never heard of that or
It's
seen
amazing.
one of those. What is that?
On a cold day, I go in. It's a double door. Just walk in, and I've got it set at 115 degrees.
Okay.
And the
Kinda,
gloves
is it
just
like a
have to-
sauna?
Yeah,
Kinda?
I mean, almost like a sauna.
And then
Yep.
you have like hooks, or how do you hang this stuff up?
there's hooks, absolutely, and drying racks for the gloves that actually a glove can specifically fit
Gotcha.
over. Yeah.
Okay.
And sleeves I can hang in there, blankets I can hang, and so
115 degrees?
115, I can bump it up to whatever I want.
So how
but
long does that take to dry?
Just 5 to 10 minutes
Oh,
for a
that's
glove.
all?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
easy,
Okay.
because it's rubber, so the water doesn't saturate
Yeah,
into it.
yeah,
It just
yeah.
sits on the surface. So after they're dry, they go over to the high voltage testing machine, and depending on what the equipment is, each test procedure is a little bit different. So with gloves, we'll hook it up. I will hook it up. It fills with water, dips into a tank, and the voltage is applied. So for a class 2 glove, which the lineman can wear touching 20,000 volts of electricity, I will test that at 50,000 volts per ASTM standards. And so my machine runs 50,000 volts of electricity through this equipment all day long.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so back to the dryer after that. And then I do a visual inspection. I inflate every glove, every sleeve, blankets and mats I'll roll, line hose I'll do a visual inspection, and then stamp it, bag it up. Each pair of gloves gets packaged in a really nice sealed bag, and then
Yeah.
back out the door. I'll do an inspection report and back out the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
How often do they need to get their gear?
Gloves are every 6 months. Sleeves are every year. Cover up material when you drive by and you see the linemen working on the lines, and you'll see big, long orange, I call them guts, but they're line hose. Big blankets, those are every year, or when there's excessive use. But many of my co-ops, they feel that safety is very important, and they're going more frequently than the 6 month time frame on their gloves. They're going every 3 months or every 4 months. And so
Okay.
I value companies like that. I know that they value their employees and safety. So
And then what are they supposed to be doing in the meantime? Like
care for
looking
the goods.
nicks? Like, do they do their own
Yeah,
little
they're supposed to do a
inspections?
visual inspection every single day. When you say supposed to, I think we all know how those supposed
People
to's go.
just-
But
yeah.
I always tell them, gosh, you're relying on this to keep you alive. Why wouldn't you just look at it? You know, it's like the tightrope walker or the trapeze artist that's not going to check their harnesses or
I
their
know.
equipment. It's like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So they are supposed to do a visual inspection. They're supposed to keep their gloves stored at a really, good conditions in canvas bags.
Sure.
Not wet, not dirty, but when they come into my shop, I see rocks in them. I see
Yeah.
wood chips inside the gloves. It's oh my gosh. Sometimes they come in buckets of mud. It's something else.
Yeah. And then, so how long have you been doing this for?
So I just started my 5th year.
Okay.
I opened the doors in July of 2019.
And as far as business, what have you learned? What kind of lessons have you learned running your own business?
Oh gosh, take care of your customers. I mean, and be your own worst boss. There's days that I don't want to go to work, not because I don't enjoy the job, but just I don't want to go to work. But those are the days that you do have to go to work. You have to show up. So be your own worst boss. I tell people I work when I'm sick. I work when I'm tired. And just exceed expectations of your customers. If they want you to have a job done by Tuesday, have it done by Tuesday.
Do what you can
Yeah,
to-
yeah. And the funny thing is, I've learned that your future plans don't always pan out. I went to college for a totally different career
Which was
objective.
what?
So I went to Concordia College, and I listened to your recent podcast with Joe Mitchell.
yeah.
He and I are Cobber alum.
Oh,
Go Cubs.
cool. Yeah.
But I actually have the pre-med degree, so biology,
Okay.
chemistry, and psychology degrees. And I was over-prepared to go to PA school. I was an EMT. I was a pediatric CNA. I was swam on their swim team at Concordia. I did everything. I taught swim lessons there. I was Army ROTC, and I did not get accepted to PA school the first time I applied. I was defeated, devastated. I thought, well, geez, what's next? And then I ended up getting a really great job in a plasma industry and moved to Cheyenne, Wyoming for 9 years after my time in Minnesota, and became a manager of a plasma donation center. And so, PA school was then gone.
Yeah.
Which now I think God pointed me in the right direction, because I don't know that I could handle, raising children and being involved in everything they want to be involved in, and then serving the community in that capacity. I don't think would have fit for my life right now. So I really think that, we just have to follow where you go. If a door's shut in your face, it doesn't mean every other door is going to be shut.
That's so hard to accept in the moment.
Correct.
You get that letter,
Devastating.
you didn't get into PA school, and it feels like the world's over.
Devastating.
And then looking back, that maybe was the best thing that ever happened to you.
Correct. And I had some really great experiences working for the ambulance company. I wouldn't trade those. Working at a children's hospital, I wouldn't trade any of that. But knowing what I know now, I'm better suited for what I'm doing.
I wonder what's the lesson there. I wonder how we can get to a place where when something doesn't go our way, we just accept that it's our turn and not give up, but just accept it. Say, okay, what do I do next?
Right. And that might have also come from my upbringing and growing up. And, there was a lot of no's in our life. Just when you have a stay-at-home mom and a dad, when they're working really, really hard just to provide for us children, and there's not a lot of money for extras, there's a lot of yeses, and those yeses are different than trips to Disneyland or trips to, fancy vacations. Our yeses are an adventure in the woods for the weekend, and I remember those. But I think that comes from my parents too, because we did have a lot of no's, and you have to accept no.
Yeah.
And that's not going to work right now, but it's going to work in this way and this timing. So.
Sure. Awesome. How did you like Concordia?
Oh, I loved Concordia. It was such a great community. I mean, as a fifth generation Hellenan, packing up my bags. Oh no, seventh generation. I meant my kids were fifth generation at Kessler Elementary School, but packing up my bags and driving 800 miles across the state to go to college.
So real quick, seventh generation?
Yeah,
Tell me
seventh
about
generation. My family came from Germany and homesteaded the west side of Helena, Colorado Gulch, Clawson Road area. So we really are West Siders. I always do the West Side.
Do you remember what year this was in when your family first came?
I don't.
Roughly?
Oh no, I don't.
Like
1800s.
mid-1800s
Yeah,
sometime?
and we have pictures with the dates on them. But
Wow.
I should have educated myself
That's
before this.
cool.
But so no, and my kids actually went to Kessler Elementary School. I went. My dad, my grandma, my great grandma, and the school was not even built when my great great grandma was a child. Otherwise, she would have also went. And so our roots are really deep here in the Helena West Side. And when you're doing business in a community where everybody knows your family and your history, it's so important to do a really good business and take really good care of people, because I'm going to see them in the grocery store. There's no doubt about it. And so just really taking good care of your customers is important, and honoring those ties and those roots that run so deep here.
Yeah.
I grew up.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, just leaving Helena for the first time, going to Minnesota, not excluding vacations. It was the first time I had lived out of the state. Going to college in Minnesota was quite an adventure. And then being brought back home has been a blessing in its own. Having my kids be in this community that I was in has been really neat. They get to do the things I did growing up. And some days they feel restricted. They know of cousins or family that lives in bigger cities that get to do more neat things, but those cousins and family members don't also get to do what we do with the camping
There's
and
trade-offs
hunting.
wherever
And
you live.
living on a creek up Rimini Road. I mean,
How
we're
many people get that?
correct. We're
That's
so
awesome.
blessed. But yeah,
What would you say, what area do you service?
all of Montana right now. I have some customers in Wyoming, one in Idaho, and then I just secured a contract with a national telecommunications company.
Congrats.
And so I'm going to be servicing 15 states for them, which is really
Okay.
fun.
Wow.
That was a really fun one to get recently. And in fact, stuff should be arriving at my shop today from them. I'm also working, so Montana primarily, but some of my larger utility companies that are Montana based, they have branches all over the upper Northwest United States. And I won't give you names because I don't want my competitors to be fishing on here.
Sure.
But it's so I do service pretty much anybody that needs their goods tested. Get it to me and I'll take care of it. I'm finishing up my DBE certification, which is the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise certification. And that's going to open up a lot of potential contracts in California and other states that they require their companies to do a certain amount of work with DBE enterprises.
Okay.
Yeah, disadvantaged enterprises.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if somebody watching this wanted to do business with you, what's the best way for them to find you or to get in touch with you?
You know, obviously, I talked about the Google machine, but, they can call me. That's probably the best. When you call, you don't push 1, you talk to me. You don't push 2. I'm there. I answer. My phone number is 406-422-7635. I've got a website, www.b-righttesting.com, but that actually needs to be updated. So, but call me, and there's a form on my website you can just fill out if they want to get their stuff tested. It's such a niche that you really have to have the high voltage rubber goods to even want to contact me. And then in that case, it's easy to get a hold of me. People have that avenue. I really love what I do, and I'm blessed to have the opportunity to grow in that area.
Great. I can tell you're good at what you do and love what you do. And
Thank you.
This has been fun for me because this is an area I've never really thought about, know nothing about. And it's just like adding a layer of just my understanding of that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and I do have, my lab is behind Walmart. And so if you're ever available, I try to only work until 2 every day. You get to build your own schedule.
Yeah.
But I do work solid from the time I walk in the door to the time I walk out. I don't sit down. I'm working the whole time. And so I try to, my lab is right behind Walmart. It's a neat lab. I've had the Lineman School in Butte. They bring a group of students down to tour. I've had
I was going to say, it'd be so cool for field trips.
I've had 4-H clubs come in and tour. The dam, I service some rubber goods for the Canyon Ferry Dam for the Bureau of Reclamation, and they've come in with a few guys and tour it, and it's just a really neat thing to show people because they didn't even know it existed.
Right.
Yeah, and so just be nosy. I mean, be curious, be adventurous, and seek out those opportunities is what I would suggest to people. I mean, you look at a wellhead that needs to be tested. You look at water metering devices or little homeowners associations. They all need to have their water tested each year. There's so many requirements in safety and that type of industry that there's so many opportunities out there, and it's an industry that's needed, and so people can get into that.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, yeah, I've loved this. This has been great. I've learned so much. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Helena Hustle Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Once again, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Helena Hustle Podcast.